I'm absolutely delighted to be here. And every hour that goes by, as I think of what this coalition government can mean, I get more excited about the potential. Nowhere are long-term decisions more needed than actually in the fields of energy and climate change and environment. Let me tell you this, there is a fourth minister in this department who cares passionately about your agenda, and that is me, the Prime Minister, right? I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I want us to be the greenest government ever. A very simple ambition, and one that I'm absolutely committed to achieving. It is important. I want to get on board. I want to benefit from it as well. I want £16 billion. That is the scale of the opportunity. It is a lot of money. We're saying as soon as a well is dug, the local community should get £100,000. They should get 1% of the revenues over the life of that well. That could be up to £10 million per well. And today we're announcing that the local council should keep 100% of the business rates. I want us to be the greenest government ever. A very simple ambition, and one that I'm absolutely committed to achieving. I want us to get on board this change that is doing so much good and bringing so much benefit to North America. I want us to benefit from it here as well. Nothing would go ahead if there were environmental dangers. I think people can be reassured by that. If this is done properly, the environmental dangers.
Really a pleasure to be here, to be in the street in front of Quadrilla. I hope the next time I come back, those things don't exist anymore. Yeah! Before I left France, I gave an interview and saying to the director of Total, Mr. de Margerie, we put you out of our area when you wanted to put shale gas. If you go to UK, it's going to be the same. Yeah. You have to win your failure because it's impossible to fight somebody who is not afraid anymore. And if you are not afraid, you can do very big things. And each time police is going to take you to bring you in jail, you're going to smile and say, that's good for the movement. That's good for the movement. This is not only a local or national or European movement. It's an international movement because we say this has to stop. This has to stop.
David Cameron last week put out some bribes. He's trying to offer money to communities or councils that will accept money to have fracking. I think that's a really useful thing to think about. What does that show? One, it shows his desperation. He is losing the argument.
We don't want his money.
And second, he's showing how, you know when you're a kid and your mum said, if you drink this medicine, we'll give you some, a sweetie afterwards. He's actually demonstrating how bad fracking is. If you've got to have to bribe people to take it, then obviously there's reasons why they don't want it. And the really interesting thing is there's so few people on David Cameron's side. We had 3 reports out last week on fracking. One was from BP, those well-known dreadful greenies, BP, and they said shale gas will not cut carbon emissions. That blows that argument out of the water. And then there's a city investment firm, and I have to look this up because I confess I don't know them very well, Bruin Dolphin, and they said shale gas will not cut gas prices. So that blows Mr Cameron's argument on that out of the water. And finally we had a study from the Institute of Mechanical Engineers, and they said 47% of people in Britain definitely don't want a shale gas well within 10 miles of their home.
85 in Balkan.
I know the Balkan figures are much higher, but you've had more time to think about it than most of the country has.
100%
And only 14% of people said they did. So the fact is, David Cameron is losing the argument. He has no argument. But we know that logic and facts don't always rule things in politics. You know, in the Green Party we believe in evidence-based policy making. Unfortunately, it's pretty thin on the ground in lots of other places. But we've got those arguments. We've got the power of the people like you today who've come out, people who are today up in Barton Moss fighting the fight. Yes, as everyone's saying, when you next get the chance, get up there and give them a hand.
Another lovely day at Bolgham.
It's a beautiful day, a bit windy.
How do you feel about the reports that have been out this morning from the geological surveys? And
Well, we knew about this about 2 weeks ago. We knew that they'd done this survey, they'd found this tight oil, and we just wondered how long they were going to hold back the release of the news before they announced it. So we should have guessed. It would come out on the day
when there's a big news story.
When there's a big news story, they've done their best to bury it, but I'm delighted to say they haven't buried it completely. But it makes my distrust, cynicism about politicians and their timing even greater.
Judicial review over the West Sussex County Council decision.
Could be. We don't know yet. Our lawyers have sent West Sussex County Council a letter inviting them to reply to, I think it's 8 points where they felt that the process had not been properly gone through.
Yeah.
And have said at the end of the letter that if they don't have a reply within 2 weeks, and I think that date is about the 30th of this month, they will institute proceedings, so a judicial review will start.
We have just put in our objection to the current planning application, which we were able to do up until we give an extra day at the last moment, having negotiated another week to put us in line with the objection from the Balkan Parish Council, who were obliged to object to it because they held a very free and fair poll in the village. Almost 60% of residents voted, which is very good for local voting. And on this current application, 60% of people said, no, we do not want a quadrilla here, in whatever guise. They asked 2 other questions as well. And the answer in each case was that a majority of the residents who answered it opposed the idea of oil and gas exploitation. It was 66 pages at the end of it with some appendices which totaled 9.2 megabytes. And when we'd done it, we thought, we've done a good job, and then we wondered if they were ever going to read it. However, we have to hope at least the planning department will read it. So we have had, really, in Balkham, from a standing start, because anyone, is this true? Anyone in the village who knows anything about the oil and gas industry probably hasn't been part of our group. There's one exception, one retired guy who's very much been helping us. But we have had to become, I wouldn't say experts, that would be silly, but we have had to inform ourselves about the whole process of oil and gas exploitation. And then we had to inform ourselves about planning regulations.
Which is the first reason for it is the applicant
demonstrated that the national need for indigenous oil and gas supply and mix could not be met by locating elsewhere outside the South Downs National Park, or met in some other way, or that the proposal can be undertaken without a damaging effect on the landscape and the recreational opportunities it provides. It then gives the positive reasons for that. The second reason for refusal is the proposed development by reason of the type, height and scale of the industrial development proposed would adversely affect the landscape character, in brackets including the remote and rural character of this part of the Milan Basin, close brackets, tranquility and experiential qualities of the landscape. Furthermore, the increase in heavy vehicle movements along Van Road associated with the proposed development would lead to an unacceptable impact on residential amenity by reason of increase in noise and disturbance, keeping the peace and tranquility of the area away from main roads. Again, policy reasons to support that. And the third reason for refusal is that the applicant, by reason of insufficient information, has failed to demonstrate the satisfaction of the South Downs National Park Authority that the proposed development would not give rise to an unacceptable level of noise associated with all aspects of the proposed operational development.
I think there was a lot of effort put in on behalf of the South Downs National Park and their officers. I think they worked very hard to go through the detail of this. So I feel confident that it is the right decision made on logical, sensible grounds.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted.
Do you think we can take this decision forward into other places now? And
I do very much hope so. I am worried about other communities who will face this onslaught as we have done, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone, frankly. So I know that my excitement and pleasure at this decision is tainted by knowing that other people will have to go through what we've gone through. It's bound to happen. This thing won't go away, sadly.
The right decision and a great result.
Decision here.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Thank you very much. How do you think the meeting went today? Do you think they did a lot of work behind the scenes for this?
Who do you mean?
The council?
Oh, they seem to have, don't they? I mean, the report was very, very detailed, and the recommendation was refusal.
Yes.
So I think they've gone into it. It's very nice to hear some of the council say that they visited the site and had a look round. You know, and because I think once people do this, the whole idea of doing it in national park is just, I mean, the whole idea of doing it in South Storm is ridiculous, but to do it in a national park is outrageous.
It obviously means a lot to you. You're local, aren't you?
Well, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But I think it should mean a lot to everybody. It means a lot to me because it started proposed near to us. So, because what's fracking? What is it? What happened? And then we went to the meeting, the Celtic Cave, and then you go online and you look at what's happened in America and Australia, and you find out what fracking means, what it entails. Millions of gallons of water used, millions of gallons of water, polluted water coming out. Where does that go when it's taken away from the shafts of the mines? What do they do with it? What happens to all the chemicals and things that are left underground when they finish the fracking? But, I mean, the whole thing is just preposterous.
Have you any words of advice for people who perhaps don't know very much about fracking at the moment?
Yes, just do what we did and find out about it. Find out what it entails, what it means, how it will affect everybody's life. Everybody's life will change radically.
Wonderful decision, and I think a lot of people are happy today.
Oh, fantastic. Very, very
lovely to see you.
Very pleasing that the wishes of people are listened to. And you think, hey, we may live in a democracy after all.
It's encouraging.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And you. Take care. Bye-bye.
this industry is not regulatable. It has caused disaster in the United States and in Australia, and will continue to do so. There is no regulation that can make fracking safe.
I don't want the future of my children's water poisoned, nor do they.
It's a really dangerous procedure, and what we're saying is we should be investing in renewable energy. We should be harnessing the power of the sea. Iceland have done it, Scotland are doing it. I think they're on 50% now, and it can be done. We don't need to be extracting the gas from the ground.
No more fracking! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? No more fracking! We want it now! What do we want? No more fracking! Now!
This industry has no social license, and we will peacefully protest. We will peacefully protest up and down this country, and no amount of trumped up charges, no amount of police aggression on our comrades and our brothers and sisters, no amount of destruction of the environment, no amount of fear and intimidation will stop us. A great man, Joseph Owen, said down in Balcom the other day that when we lose our fear, they have nothing against us. And that's what they're facing here. Fearless protectors of the land that will stand until the very end. So our message to DMP and to IGAS is there is no social license and you can frack off.
And the sun's still shining on us, eh? Mother Earth knows why we're here and she's in full agreement. Right, okay.
Right, I've come down here alongside the motorway. You can see exactly where the drill is. There we go. This is the main motorway. There's the bridge. There we go. Absolutely incredible.
Right guys, look at this. Spillage happening on the street. And you'll see it continuing around here. Further here and up toward the police officer. And because this truck is currently stationary, a larger puddle just there. I can't see, I can see exactly where it's falling from. It's falling from this manifold or wherever it's called, right here, this small one, just in front of the camera. Maybe you can see something drip. Yes. Actually getting the drip. Haha. No idea how to gather with proper health and safety measures. See this? Health and safety. Using a screwdriver as a screw. Proper health and safety here. Ridiculous. Oh, sorry, I can actually see a sign if you're right next to it. How come it's not the other side? I said that I would come back if anything significant happened. I would call this significant. The truck's diesel tank is held together to stop diesel spilling out by a rubber glove. There's spillage coming off from other parts to it. And just 5 minutes ago I said that the companies involved, the fracking companies, need to be, along with their contractors, whiter than white.
We have the strongest environmental controls in this country. Nothing would go ahead if there were environmental dangers. I think people can be reassured by that. But I actually believe it's when these wells go ahead, when people start to see the benefit, when they see there aren't environmental concerns, they will see that it's quite right that this is part of our long-term economic plan.
I want to make sure that this is fairer, and so I'm asking them to stick to those 16 weeks in order to make a decision.
Tens of thousands of pieces of evidence.
We haven't been dragging our heels. You've already got to see the amount of evidence that's had to be looked at. What would the government expect us not to look at? What do they want us not to do in order to keep it within the 16 weeks?
Do you feel pressured?
I think it's a bullying attitude.
Message to the government is don't imagine this is over, because we won't stop either.
We are not going to go quietly. We will not be silenced. Amber Rudd shamefully is making it easier for communities to oppose renewables than fracking. Shame on them.
I want us to be the greenest government ever. A very simple ambition, and one that I'm absolutely committed to achieving.
New measures being introduced to fast-track planning applications for fracking, a meeting with opposition here in Kent. Councils, which repeatedly take longer than 16 weeks to reach a decision, may have to pass this on to ministers. Campaigners in our county opposed to fracking believe it's disgraceful that local people could be denied a say on the controversial issue of drilling through rock for gas. But the Energy Secretary, Amber Rudd, insists that little will change.
This statement today actually follows, and I think this is the really important point. You know, recently there was a democratic rejection of quadrillas fracking applications in Lancashire.
Where?